Good morning, Las Vegas. How's everybody doing?
Great.
It's really good to see all of you. I can tell I have a fan club. For most of you, I think I've seen most of you around. How many of you have seen me around somewhere? Okay, so a good amount of you. Okay, so I just want you guys to know that I've been here in Las Vegas for about, I think, 4 days now, and I can really tell you guys have an amazing spirit. There's really something special going on in Las Vegas, and I can feel it, with everything, with my heart, in my bones. I can just feel it, and I really want to thank, especially Carp Las Vegas, who I've been living with for the past few days, and sleeping together with, and in a heavenly way. I'm really glad to be here. As our wonderful MC shared, my name is Justin Okamoto. I'm 25 years old, and I work at CARP headquarters in New York. And I'm actually on my way to move to Japan. I'm moving to Japan in just a few weeks now, and I have this wonderful opportunity to travel around the U.S. Before I actually go. And so I'm really grateful. I'm really grateful that I get to say goodbye to this wonderful country. Today is a special day, right? It's True Children's Day. And today I wanted to speak about that topic. Although I don't have a seminary degree, right? I'm not a parent myself, but I have 25 years of being a child. So I think at least, at least I can share about this topic from my own experience, my own heart, of being a child who grew up in this movement, and how I came to understand my own parents' heart, bit by bit, right, and to understand more about our heavenly parents and our true parents. So really, I'll be sharing, from that viewpoint of a child, and so I hope you guys can really gain something out of this. So first, I just wanted to start off with a reading. It's one of my favorite passages in the Bible, and it's from Luke 15, 11:32. It's the parable of the lost son. Have you guys heard this parable before? Yeah. So I just want to read this. Jesus continued, "There was a man who had 2 sons. The younger one said to his father, 'Father, give me my share of the estate.' So he divided his property between them. Not long after that, the younger son got together all he had, set off for a distant country, and there squandered his wealth in wild living. After he had spent everything, there was a severe famine in that whole country, and he began to be in need. So he went and hired himself out to a citizen of that country, who sent him to his fields to feed pigs. He longed to fill his stomach with the pods that the pigs were eating, but no one gave him anything. When he came to his senses, he said, 'How many of my father's hired servants have food to spare, and here I am starving to death? I will set out and go back to my father and say to him, Father, I have sinned against heaven and against you. I am no longer worthy to be called your son. Make me like one of your hired servants.' So he got up and went to his father. But while he was still a long way off, his father saw him and was filled with compassion for him. He ran to his son, threw his arms around him, and kissed him. The son said to him, 'Father, I have sinned against heaven and against you. I am no longer worthy to be called your son.' But the father said to his servants, 'Quick, bring the best robe and put it on him. Put a ring on his finger and sandals on his feet. Bring the fatted calf and kill it. Let's have a feast and celebrate. For this son of mine was dead and is alive again. He was lost and is found.' So they began to celebrate. Meanwhile, the older son was in the field. When he came near the house, he heard music and dancing. So he called one of the servants and asked him what was going on. "Your brother has come," he replied, "and your father has killed the fatted calf because he has him back safe and sound." The older brother became angry and refused to go in. So his father went out and pleaded with him, but he answered his father, "Look, all these years I've been slaving for you and never disobeyed your orders. Yet you never gave me even a young goat so I could celebrate with my friends. But when this son of yours, who has squandered your property with prostitutes, comes home, you kill the fatted calf for him." My son," the father said, "you are always with me, and everything I have is yours. But we had to celebrate and be glad, because this brother of yours was dead and is alive again. He was lost and is found." So for me, this is a very personal story that really hits me. Personally, in my own life, I've went through many struggles of faith, which I think many of us here have, right? If I look at who I was, just 6 years ago, I was a very different person. Can you show the next slide? So that's me. That was me 6 years ago with my blue hair, and I think the Comptons remember that. And that was actually a Halloween, but I kept that blue hair for about 2 years, and I left my faith community. Although I didn't leave physically, I still went to church. I left my community in my heart, and I really left God in my heart. I remember, during the Sunday services, I would still go to church, and I would sit there, and I would watch the sermon, and I'd listen to the pastor, and I'd look around at my brothers and sisters, and I think, these fools, they've been had. And I felt so much compassion for my brothers and sisters. No, not really, but really that was, I felt like, I knew that this was not true. And, I really thought that, I look around at my world and I look at my life, and my world and my life proves me that what we talk about is not true. And so, over time, I started to, experiment with many things in life. And I remember this one instance when, my life, I would say, really changed. I was out with my friends, and we were watching a movie, and I get a text from my dad, and he says, "Justin, come home right now." And I'm thinking, I'm about to watch a movie. I'm not coming home. And then he sends me another text, and he says, "Come home, your sister's in trouble." And, he knows that I love my sister. My sister is someone who's always been one of my best friends, so I came home. And, I'm walking up the steps, and I get up to my living room, and there's my whole family, and they're sitting around the couches. And in the middle of my family is the coffee table, and on the coffee table is my stash of alcohol that I was hiding in my room. And I can see my sister crying. I can see my parents, crying, and they asked me to sit down. And I don't know if you guys ever seen the show called Intervention. It was pretty much an intervention for me. And my whole family shared their hearts, shared about how disappointed they were. My oldest brother said to me, if you're going to live this life, just get out of this family. And my mother said, no, don't listen to him. But, it was clear my parents were very disappointed and very sad. And, all I can think of was, oh my gosh, my life is over. Like, gosh, they caught me. They found out. And I was just upset that I got caught. And then, my dad says, okay, so you have to go to Korea. You have to go to Cheonpyeong. So Cheonpyeong is this, it's a spiritual retreat for our movement, right? And he says, you have to do 40 days workshop in Cheonpyeong. And I think, no! That was the worst thing. That was the last thing I wanted to hear. So, I said, okay, I'll go, because, I knew my parents were going to do whatever it took to get me there. But I devised the plan. I devised the way to get out of this. And, my dad also said, okay, and we're going to buy you a ticket. You're going to leave in 3 days. I said, what? And he said, until then, you have to fast. And you have to, and he said, you have to read Hundoke every day. And no phone, no TV, just stay in your room and just read. And I thought, okay, I am getting out of this somehow. And so, there I'm in my room, and I find my computer. I start messaging my friends. I got to get out of here. My parents are crazy. Help me escape. And so the next day, as my dad goes to work, my mom goes to the grocery store. I think, this is my chance, okay. And I message my friend, okay, now, let's go. And then he comes. But then as my friend drives up, my mom actually came home. And she walks up the steps, and she says to me, why is your friend in our parking lot? And I just look at her straight in the eyes, and I say, I don't know. And then I run for it. I run out the door, I get on my bike, I start pedaling as fast as I can. My friend's already driven off by then. And, I think, I look behind me and I think, I'm home free, I'm safe. But then I hear this roaring of an engine. I look behind me and it's like my mom going, 60 miles an hour on a local street. And right outside the window is my oldest brother, out the window like this. Ready to grab me. And, bike, car, they catch me. And they shove me in the car and they take me back home. But that experience scared them so much, they realized that I was going to do something crazy if they kept trying to get me to go to Korea. So eventually, we made a deal, and they let me. They told me I have a year. I have a year to live this life, and then I have to go to Korea at some point during that year. They said, we already bought your plane ticket. We're not wasting that money. Okay, I got it. So I went through some very painful times during that year. I ended up having a girlfriend, and that relationship broke after 10 months, after I cut it off, because I realized really how selfish love can be, both my own love and her love as well. And though I wasn't ready to accept God yet back into my life, I was looking for something, because I knew what I just tried, it was not working. And so I did say to my parents, okay, I'm ready to go. I'm ready to go to Cheonpyeong. And I went over. And of course, in the beginning it was very difficult. And you go into a new environment where everyone seems so holy and so wonderful. And you look at yourself and you think, I'll never fit in. I'm such a sinner. I'm such a bad person. These people are so wonderful. And it took about 7 days of that loneliness for me to finally submit myself and say, I said to myself, I don't know if God is real, but if God is real, then I need some help. And I'm going to ask God. I'm going to talk to God. And I prayed to God for the first time, really sincerely asking for help. And I said to God, I'm so lonely right now. I'm so lonely. And all I want is a friend. All I want is a companion, someone I can just talk to. And I said, I don't care if it's a human being or if it's an angel, just please give me someone to talk to. And the next day, though I did walk away from that prayer thinking, let's see what happens. But the next day, someone did approach me. And though it was just a very simple conversation, he said, how are you doing? How's your workshop? And I said, yeah, it's going fine. Of course, I was lying, right? But when he talked to me, something opened up inside of me where I realized why I'm so lonely in my life. I realized that all I need to do to really relieve myself of this loneliness is I need to think about other people. I thought, this guy thought about me. He saw some guy, sitting down alone, and he decided to talk to him. And, from there, I looked right beside me, and all of a sudden, another human being appeared that I did not know was there. And I talked to her, and we became friends, and she introduced me to a lot of people. And to make a long story short, that's how I reconnected with God and reconnected with my faith. And I could understand the beauty that our true parents have created in our movement, in our second generation, our young people. And I really felt that, how is this possible? How is it possible that somebody who really did so many things in my life that really betrayed my parents, I hurt God's heart, and then I'm pretty much selfishly asking again for something, even though I haven't given anything to God. But yet God still blesses me. And for me, that was the first experience that I got to really experience God's unchanging love for me and for his children. And since that moment, the blessings have continued to be given to me. I just came back from a workshop in Korea a month ago, and at the end of this workshop, there was a leaders meeting. And I'm sitting there with my boss and some of these top leaders from all around the world. And we're basically having this feast, And I'm looking, and I talk to my boss, now Kimi, and I say to him, what am I doing here? I'm this 25-year-old guy. Everyone here is twice my age. And, why am I being treated so well? And he looks at me and he says, I have no idea, Justin. He says, to be honest, I'm a little jealous of you. And I said to him, now Kimi, but I owe you everything. You've raised me up so much. And, I really got to experience that blessing. And of course, the biggest blessing, can you show the next slide, is, this blessing. This is my wife. Let's give it up for her. My wife, her name's Kazuka. She's from Japan. She's actually in Japan right now, getting things prepared for us to move there. And, without a doubt, this has been the biggest blessing that I've received from God so far. Can you show the next picture? There's us in the Grand Canyon. One more picture. Oh, what? No, next. I'm sorry, we can't show that in church. Oh, we can, right? We can. Yeah, we can. All right, show it one more time. All right, let's give it up. All right. Next slide. So, really, it's so amazing the love that God has for us. It's so amazing the love that True Parents has for us. that even though we can make mistake after mistake after mistake, and we can completely live a life of a thief, a liar, but God can still be there waiting for us to return, waiting for us to embrace us once more into his love. And so, now looking back, of course, I feel nothing but gratitude towards my parents. And I realize that what looked like absolute insanity to me, before, craziness, was actually just how crazy in love they were with me, with their son, that they were willing to do anything to get me back, no matter, even if I hated them for it, and I did, but they were willing to do it for their son. And so, of course, as we receive God's love, as we receive our parents' love and true parents' love, we begin to grow. We begin to feel this heart of gratitude towards our parents, towards God, towards true parents. But gratitude is just the first step. True parents talk a lot about this idea about filial piety. And that's really the path to maturing as a child, is to develop ourselves, our filial hearts. I want to read Mother's words. This is True Mother's words from the Champumogyang. Fights break out among siblings because they do not know their parents' will and cannot fathom their deep hearts. You can understand your parents' will only when you connect to them in heart through true love. When you achieve oneness in mind, oneness in body, oneness in heart, and oneness in harmony with true parents, your thoughts, your feelings, your words, and your actions will come into one accord. So True Mother says that fights break out among siblings because they do not know their parents' will and cannot fathom their deep hearts. So this is really what a filial child looks like, is somebody who seeks to understand their parents' heart, seeks to understand their will, and asks this question of, what is this like for my parents? Because in those 2 years of me, rebelling, not once did I ask that question. Not once did I ask, what is this like for them? What is this like for my parents? And it's because I didn't ask that question that I went through those lonely times, and my parents went through that hurt. A filial child asks that question in every situation. And they want to bear the burden of their parents' desire and take responsibility to fulfill it. But in order to fulfill that desire, they need to know what it is. They need to be curious. They need to actually ask, what do you want for our family? Asking our Heavenly Parent, what is it like seeing the situation of the world today? Imagine, we see a lot of horrific things on TV, on Facebook, different images, right? We see that. But to us, we see two people killing each other. They're strangers killing each other. But think about God. How many of you have children here? For God, it's not a stranger killing a stranger. For God, it's siblings killing each other. For God, it's a brother killing a brother. It's a sister killing a sister. For God, it's his family watching his family destroy each other. How How painful that must be for God to see that. We can't fathom that kind of heart. Because we don't see each other as a family. But God really experiences that at every single moment. When the Israelites killed Jesus, we think about that, we imagine it, the story of it. And, some people say Jesus came to die. Some people say Jesus didn't come to die. But what was that really like for God seeing Jesus on that cross? Imagine your child. Someone's nailing him to a cross with every stroke of that hammer. What was that like for God to see that? Every time it must have been like just so heartbreaking, crushing God's heart. God must have wanted to scream, "No! How can this happen? How can this happen to my child?" Then in our own lives, I look at my own family, and I don't always get along with my siblings. I think about, my oldest brother, and I think, I'm just not going to get along with him. It's too difficult. He's nothing like me. He won't open up. He won't share. And I'm thinking about all of these things, about my own perspective, my own feelings towards my brother. But if I could think about the heart of my parents, who just want to see a family that gets along together, a family that unites together. What does it matter, my opinion about my brother? What does it matter if I think he's doing the right thing or the wrong thing? All that matters is that my parents are suffering watching this situation. And if there's anything that I feel regretful for, is that I feel I haven't done enough for my parents to really bring my family together. But then we also can look at our own communities, and we look at our brothers and sisters, and we come together at church. And even though we get together at church, we still can struggle with one another. And we still have judgments towards one another. Maybe somebody does something and you don't agree with that. You don't think that's the right thing to do. And it's easy to just hold on to our perspective about it, to say that I'm right and this person's wrong. And I don't have to get along with this person. I don't have to love this person. But what about God? Heavenly Parent looks at that situation, and all he wants to see is some peace. He wants to see peace in the community. He wants to see peace in our nation. He doesn't want Democrats and Republicans fighting each other and killing each other. He wants to see them start talking to each other, working together, and realizing that this person is not so different from me. We have the same parent. We have the same God. Then we look at true parents. Who was true father? The way I see it, true father was somebody who was constantly asking this question. Was always seeking to discover, what is this like for God? Asking God, what is this like for you? Seeing this world, seeing these people. And when I look at true parents and I look at the incredible things that they do, they can't sleep at night because this question is constantly on their mind. It's constantly going through their mind. What is it like right now for God? How does God feel right now? And with that kind of heart, true parents were the most filial children. And they've given us that example of what it really means to be a filial child. True father, true mother, their end goal is nothing less than creating a world of peace, building the kingdom of heaven. It's not about establishing a religion. It's not about establishing a church. It's not about converting the most people. It's about getting the will of God done, getting their heavenly parents' will done, because they can't take it. They can't take feeling such pain when they think about God. And that is really the only way that world peace can happen, is by developing ourselves, growing ourselves as filial children. That when we think about talking badly about a brother or sister, when we think about gossiping, to think about, is this what God wants me to share right now? When we think about ignoring somebody, not greeting somebody, to think about is, what does God want for this person? Does God want me to embrace this person? Does God want me to show this person how wonderful it is that they're here right now and I get to be with them right now? Only through developing this heart can we build that world of peace. We'll learn to love our siblings because we love our parents. The reality is we are very different. We have different personalities, different characters. I don't have a lot of things I can do together with my siblings. So if I just think about it that way, I don't have a motivation to really connect. But I think about God, that's my motivation. And that's really all I wanted to share. I wanted to share about my own journey coming to grips with this, coming to my own understanding about myself and the love that my parents have for me. My parents are incredible people. They've really done an amazing job raising me and my family. And I want to spend the rest of my life proving that they did a good job, proving to the world that they did their best, they tried so hard. And if I could do that, not only will I get to fulfill their desire, but that's my desire. I get to feel complete. I get to feel like my mission here as a son is complete as well. So we can do it, right? We can become those filial children. We can keep examining ourselves, working on ourselves. Every time those thoughts come up, to stop them, to remember, no, what about God? What about God? We can do it. And if we do it, amazing things will happen. Miracles will happen. We'll see thousands and thousands of people come to this location because something great is happening. Something powerful, magical is happening. And I have so much faith that that will happen, that we will see that. And in those times when we feel that we cannot do that, when we feel that we're just not strong enough, what we have to do is we need to repent. We need to look at ourselves and we need to say, I'm sorry, God. I'm sorry that I don't have this deep heart. But I don't have this deep heart yet, and pledging that I will get there. So we can do it, Las Vegas? Yes! You guys believe it? Yes! All right. Thank you so much.